Hello, sisters and brothers. Our devotional for today, for June 2, is a reflection on My Utmost for His Highest, a series of devotionals written and compiled by Oswald Chambers. You can always find the link for the daily devotional at utmost.org. Today's devotional asks the question, are you obsessed by something? And we'll get into that in just a minute, but the key verses that we're going to look at come from Psalm 25. We'll focus on verse 12, but I'm going to begin at verse 8 of Psalm 25. Good and upright is the Lord. Therefore, he instructs sinners in his ways. He guides the humble in what is right and teaches them his way. All the ways of the Lord are loving and faithful toward those who keep the demands of his covenant. For the sake of your name, Lord, forgive my iniquity, though it is great. Who then are those who fear the Lord? He will instruct them in the ways they should choose. And as I mentioned, the title of the devotional is, Are You Obsessed by Something? Looking at verse 12, who is the man that fears the Lord? Are you obsessed by something? You will probably say, no, by nothing. But all of us are obsessed by something, usually by ourselves, or, if we are Christians, by our own experience of the Christian life. But the psalmist says that we are to be obsessed by God. The abiding awareness of the Christian life is to be God himself, not just thoughts about him. The total being of our life, inside and out, is to be absolutely obsessed by the presence of God. The child's awareness is so absorbed in his mother that although he is not consciously thinking of her, when a problem arises, the abiding relationship is that with the mother. In the same way, we are to live and move and have our being in God. Acts 17, verse 28. Looking at everything in relation to him because our abiding awareness of him continually pushes itself to the forefront of our lives. If we are obsessed by God, nothing else can get into our lives, not concerns, nor tribulation, nor worries. And now we understand why our Lord so emphasized the sin of worrying. How can we dare to be so absolutely unbelieving when God totally surrounds us? To be obsessed by God is to have an effective barricade against all the assaults of the enemy. He himself shall dwell in prosperity, Psalm 25, verse 13. God will cause us to dwell in prosperity, keeping us at ease, even in the midst of tribulation, misunderstanding, and slander, if our life is hidden with Christ in God, Colossians 3, verse 3. We rob ourselves of the miraculous revealed truth of this abiding companionship with God. God is our refuge, Psalm 46, verse 1. Nothing can break through his shelter of protection. Immediately as I reflect on this and simply the title of the devotional, I'm reminded of a phrase that I picked up from a good friend of mine a few years ago that he picked up from someone else. So I don't know where it began, but it basically says this: we are always worshiping something or someone. It's just a matter of who or what we are worshiping. So if we think of our worship not simply as when we assemble together as a body, but as the way that we live our life, just as we talked about a while back with prayer, it's the way that we live our life. If worship is seen in the same light, we are worshiping God through our actions, through our thoughts, through the way that we conduct ourselves, through the way that we speak to each other. Are we worshiping God, or are we worshiping someone else? And as Chambers points it out, maybe ourselves. Maybe we want to have the right experience, this right Christian experience, or trying to just get it all right, rather than focusing on God and being in a right relationship with him. So as we're going through all of the things that are going on in the world right now, and we do have worries, we have fears, we have concerns, we're processing information all day. What are we doing about it? In the sense of, where's our attention going? Do you find yourself worshiping God more during these times, or do you find yourself worshiping God less? And if you find in your honest assessment that you're worshiping God less, that means that you're worshiping something else more. And that should be a course for correction and a cause for correction. God should remain our focus. And even though we're going to take some of these issues that are going on in the world and put them into our story and our efforts, God still has to be the focus. And we should still be worshiping God, because there is no other hope and no other source of salvation other than putting our focus and our worship and our full attention on Him. So thank you as always for listening. Come back tomorrow. Be safe and stay well.